Why does mine sound different? What? Are you serious? Why does mine sound so puny?
I don't know.
Why is it that all the guns that I pick have no base in it?
With only a little over 2 weeks since the release of the Ascent, it seems like everywhere you look, anyone playing this game is loving it. But to be honest, when it comes to playing local co-op, our experience kinda sucked. Even though we really loved the gameplay, our time playing the Ascent was actually pretty painful. And as player 2, it was even worse. So if anyone out there is thinking of playing the Ascent local co-op, don't be player 2. No, I'm kidding. Here are our impressions of the first 10 hours of gameplay. Just a quick note, we played this one on Xbox Game Pass for about 10 hours and only got like a third of the way through the game, which is probably twice as long as it should have taken us. Going through our footage, we actually discovered that the bulk of our time was spent, well, loading and zooming.
Yeah, we should have known we were in trouble when the first loading screen just sat there. It ended up taking a little over 90 seconds, but that's an eternity when you're staring at a loading bar. Now, thankfully, there's no loading between areas, but still, loading times suck when they're that long, especially when the game decides to just shut off all on its own.
Great. Are you serious? Are you f***ing serious?
Which brings us to our next point.
Oh, come on!
Once you get past the long-ass loading times, expect lag spikes and outright crashes to slow your pace. Now, I could look past some lag, especially for a brand new game, but this happens often enough that it's crippling. And of course, it's always in the middle of a huge firefight.
Come the f*** on.
If these issues aren't outright game-breaking for you, and you still want to roll the dice, expect to see even more bugs, like being stuck on a staircase, one-way elevators, or even these guys. We encountered some interesting bugs. Actually, I should say ridiculous bugs, like the missing shockwave animation during hammerhead fights. Because we didn't get that little trail of rubble when the sledge hits, we had no clue what was hurting us, even though we kept our distance. Then there was the inability to roll immediately after cutscenes, guns working intermittently, relentless tutorials popping up late in the game, or how one player just keeps running when a conversation starts. Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game, but these issues may not be news to you.
Yeah, they really seem to be everywhere, but I feel like some people just gloss right over it. Now, maybe it's not that bad on PC or the other modes, but what I'm most concerned about are the local problems, or more specifically, the player 2 problems. From someone who plays exclusively as player 2, I've got to say I'm pretty disappointed with the whole local experience of the Ascent. When the game is in working order, it's pretty damn good. It's just that everything seems rushed. And if that's the case, then local co-op was just straight up left behind. It all started with customizing my character. When I figured out I couldn't rotate but player 1 could, I had a feeling this would be a recurring issue. I mean, I couldn't even check how good I looked. From there, it just got worse. Right off the bat, I wasn't able to read any data pads or anything. It was just cut off. And if I activated the quest tracker, well, it always started at player 1's feed, not mine. What about item sharing? Even though we were supposed to share loot, I always had missing items. And you know what was really insulting? It's how all my guns sounded like cap guns compared to player 1's. All of them.
Why does yours sound so much like more crazy?
Oh no.
Why does mine sound so puny?
Yours sounds like a cap gun.
To make matters worse, there's a chance you'll lose all your progress. I'm talking like already distributed skill points or some of your items or skins. Like I lost my freaking cyber deck. How does that even happen? I'm now a whole level behind player 1. To be honest, it was the little things like this that made it seem like couch co-op was an afterthought. And like second player was second class, honestly. For example, player indicators in every other mode. That little circle at your feet is whatever color you choose. But in local, it just defaults to blue and red. I know it seems trivial, but it's just another reminder of how often couch co-op is overlooked. And you know what else made it super frustrating? The camera. That stupid camera. It's funny because all anyone talks about is how beautiful this game is, but when you share the screen, you just can't see shit. It's just way too zoomed in. Now, the camera does zoom out when players are at opposite ends of the screen, but if you travel too far from your partner, you're gonna disappear, which is not really a good thing. You know how many fights I've started by accident because of this? And if you don't wind up triggering a fight off screen, chances are you'll trigger one without even seeing an enemy. So if you're not using your radar like a second pair of eyes, it's really easy to get caught up in a bullet storm. Listen, the whole thing, it was just frustrating.
Yeah, but I also don't want you guys thinking we're being unfair, because most of the bugs by themselves aren't game breaking. It just happens too often. And I don't know about you, but most of the fun for us is in the immersion. It's not necessarily the story, but there's a kind of kick-ass momentum that builds when you get a good game going. And in the Ascent, we just couldn't seem to get our feet under us. We were too busy loading and lagging. We still think the Ascent has a ton of potential to be a great co-op game, maybe one of the great co-op games, if they fix these issues. So far, the main story has promise. The voice acting, when it's not an alien, is really, really good. So it's easy to get sucked into the cutscenes. And as for the combat, it's fun. It's fun as hell. The game itself isn't fast-paced, but the combat sure as shit is. It can get pretty heated out there, especially if you take a chance on hard. And on top of that, it's just a really beautiful looking game. Stunning, to say the least.
Yeah, we actually didn't have any real complaints when it came to the gameplay or the story. It was really more about the glitches and maybe some of the trivial shit like poor design choices. So I guess what we're really trying to say here is that local co-op is broken. For now, anyway. But it looks like Neon Giant is taking these issues seriously, which is a good thing. I mean, they set up a whole website for reporting them, so hopefully we'll see a patch before it's too long, because Neon Giant, we really, really want to play your freaking game! Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye! Wait.